Okay, and welcome back onto the Net Zero and ESG stage. Next up, we have Ron MacDonald. Previously, Ron was president and CEO of the Council of Forest Industries, a Canadian lumber group which was helped develop new markets in India, Japan, Korea, and China. Ron has also worked in the political arena, holding many international roles within the Parliament of Canada. However, today he speaks to you from his position as the president and CEO of Zinc 8 Energy Solutions, which is redefining long duration storage with zinc air technology. So I'll leave the virtual stage to Ron.
Okay, let's see if we can get this going. Thank you very much, Tom, for inviting me here. And I normally don't speak from slides, but slides are a good background to have a discussion and a dialogue. So I am the president and CEO of Zinc 8 Energy Solutions. It's kind of a unique company. It's been around for probably 12 years in this iteration, but the technology that it's built on goes back over 20 years. So we are a long duration energy storage system. Long duration, I would describe as over 8 hours. And so we are, we're a competitive product just going into commercial production in New York. We just announced that in Ulster County up in the Hudson Valley. And in Hudson Valley, and hopefully we'll be into production next year. So I'm going to talk a little bit, I'll ramble a bit just about my experiences and how governance on the board end is so important, and the evolution of governance in the overall ESG from a small company that's got a few employees that have only a few investors, that's an R&D company, over to a product company. So we're the leader in long duration energy storage technology. And why do we say that? Well, there's a lot of different energy storage technologies that are increasingly important in addressing the requirement of decarbonization of our globe, period. So we are a technology company. We've got 21 patents that have issued. We've got 5 patents pending, 7 being written, and a number of awards, 2 major ones, all coming out of New York, interestingly enough. Next slide. So this is a good quote. The speed of decision making is the essence of good governance. So, what I effectively get out of this quote is the governance that you provide, that you build inside your company, will allow you to make the right decisions in the right time frame. So, in a competitive world, you've got to be prepared at all points in time to take in the best information that's available, and you structure those that will give that information in order to make good, fast decisions. So I'm going to deal with this a little bit about. I want to do a perspective here. So when I took over the company, there was only investors. So the original investors in the company became the board members. And so they were the seed investors that came in. As we grew the company out, I needed to reach out and to diversify the board, because what they were giving me was they were giving me their risk tolerance to come in and invest in a small company. I am in a growth phase, so I don't need that. What I do need is good governance on my board to improve the performance, improve access to new business opportunities, and to reduce business risks. So all of these make it more likely that you're going to get out of the development stage and be a successful growth company. Now, this is a little different here. So it talks about the importance of good governance, help you to secure investment by creating formal reporting procedures that clearly lay out everything that investors need to know. There's 2 different types of companies here. So one type would be a publicly listed company on a small cap market, which we currently are, but we're changing that. The other one would be a private company. So clearly, anybody that's in either one of those 2 scenarios that is looking for investment has got to understand the levels of transparency that are required, both from the investor, but also from the regulators. As a publicly regulated company, the amount of filings that I have to, I'm just doing my AIF after we finish this, filings, but also my quarterlies. I've got to get them filed. So the level of transparency to the investor in the market is very high. And so if a company, early on, I was hearing from some of the potential investors, your board is not your board is not professional enough. They're the right board for a startup company, but they may not. You may need to add some bench strength that starts looking after more governance, because the requirements as you raise more money are going from the investor is going to be more stringent. So on my board, I have started to evolve, and you'll see it a little further down. So it says people on your governance team can provide a sounding board and become trusted advisors. I kind of went the other way around. So my sounding board was my legal counsel, and somebody that's been in the legal profession for 34 years. You'll see him a little bit further down because I do want to highlight him. And he was my trusted advisor. I didn't make any move in these capital markets without calling him up, Bernard Pinsky. And he turned out, I mean, for the last 20 years in Canada, he was always named as one of the top 10 corporate lawyers. So he helped me through a small cap company. Then he decided to retire, silly bugger. And I said, you can't retire. I need, you're my trusted advisor and you are my ultimate sounding board. So he is now on the board, and he's an active board member, and has greatly enhanced my ability as the CEO to have the continuity from the time I come on, all of the legal issues, all of the market issues, and I get the best advice possible. So I get a lawyer on my board that I don't pay the standard legal fees to, but he's a trusted advisor as well. So I think as you as a company grows, you need to have on your board a diversity of skills hopefully from your industry, but not necessarily all from your industry. You want to be able to have those discussions and challenges and suggestions come forward to help you move your company forward, not just in the financial markets, but also on potential corporate contractors. So a CEO of a company, particularly the small ones, it's got a lot on your plate. A lot of people say you're a one-person show, and in many respects you are, because initially companies usually don't have the resources to hire, consultants that they might want to hire. So good board governance, good people on your board, they can help you in reducing strategies to avoid risks. You learn from the mistakes that they've made in business, but you also learn, like from Bernard's perspective, from 35 years of mistakes some of his clients have made. And so I rely on him in particular, and another board member that we added on to broaden it out as we move to commercialization, and that's Storm Boswick. And Storm Boswick started down New York. He was there for most of his life, and at Goldman Sachs. But he brings to the table a number of things for me. One of the things that he does bring is an understanding more complicated capital markets and capital stacks, not just in the US or Canada, but globally. But he also understands how governance is absolutely required, particularly as you get into more sophisticated markets that are that are more risk averse, but will do long-term investments. So since he's come on in the last year, I mean, he has helped us greatly in preparing our presentations for some more of those sophisticated markets. Without the help of somebody like him, I would probably have to move off to to consultants. But these are people that believe in the company. These are people that are committed to the ESG models. These are people that are committed to a greener future. These are people that are committed to my company, right? So, so on the governance side of it, on the board side of it, you have to continue to evolve as you identify new requirements in your marketplace or in your financial structures. Legal responsibilities when they change. Well, I'm a publicly listed company, so it's a little bit different, but it shouldn't be. For a private company, there are reporting requirements. You're getting money from people's pockets, from people's wallets, and they require full disclosure on your corporate product, service, financial structure, the whole 9 yards. They need that. As a publicly listed company, we rely on our lawyer, we rely on our CFO, who the CFO is a key and critical part. He may not be on your management, he may not be on your board, but he's a critical director inside your company. So the regulations and transparency, rules, standards, the law, the policies that surround or implement the regulations are all critically important to you going forward. And again, I have to say this, so like if you're in a small cap market, there's more risk tolerated. As you grow, you need to know that on the compliance side, that good governance, good board support will allow you to, even in tough markets, to be credible for potential investors and customers. This one here, how good governance helps your business. Well, all I want to say on this is when your customers or your investors see that you're managing to a set of objectives that are close to their objectives, financial requirements, financial performance, and they see that there's people on your board that have got more experience from a board level on a number of different of these inputs, the more confident that you're going to get on that. But you constantly have to be reporting back, and you have to listen. So what is it that the market wants to tell you? What is it that they want to know from you? What is it that the customer wants to know from you? So a strong board that brings customers and money and governance and experience is absolutely key for small companies to, avoid that valley of death that many go through by just making mistakes. And a lot of the mistakes are honest. So the sooner that you can sort of professionalize your board on governance, the more likely it is that you're going to get through that valley. So I talked about Bernard, this guy is helping us. He is also helping us in a recruitment drive as we grow our U.S. company. So as we are in the investment community now for a lot more money, it's $100 million for us to get into full production. And we get support from the federal government and the state government has just announced with me a $9 million contribution. And the Ulster County IDA, Industrial Development Organization, has come up with a $10 million non-taxable municipal grant for us. People like Bernard and people like Storm, I just gave that to Storm. I said, Storm, I'm busy trying to build and run a company. I got 56 employees. We're going to go to a couple of hundred in the next few years, and we're relocating into Hudson Valley. Can you take these on? Can you do that? And when I introduce people like Bernard on the legal side, when we're doing some of the licensing agreements, I've got credibility. And when I introduce people like Storm over in the muni bond or dealing with some of the big banks and dealing with capital stacks, this guy has lent us his entire lifetime of work reputation. That's why you need people like this on your board. So as we go forward, I mean, we have committed to a number of things in the United States, and I guess it goes, I'll do it down on the ESG slide. So where are we at? So equity of people and perspectives. So my board has got to be more reflective of the communities that we're growing into, our customer base, and what's required from that. So we need, you have to move towards as close as you can to equity, gender equity on boards. I think it's critically important. If I look back, if I put my politician's hat on, and I look back to this current government in Canada, when he appointed his first cabinet after his first election 2 cycles ago. And when he announced his cabinet was 50-50 female to male. And a reporter asked him, excuse me, this looks odd. We've never seen this before. Why? And I think the election was in, so we're 23. He said, it's because it's 2017. Don't you get it? And I think that was one of the boldest moves that I've seen from a politician. But your companies have got to do that too. We've got to reflect the reality of the population, the investors, and the customer base. And that diversity is in policy, practice, and position. Okay. And so going forward there, we're going to have a diverse board. So if anybody knows of some very talented people that reflect the communities that I'm going to be working in, please let me know afterwards. My email is open to that. And you've got to reflect where you're operating out of. So my community that I'm just getting to know up in the Hudson Valley, I want my company to reflect that in every single way. So last one is the ESG. So I guess I was trying to do a bit of governance and trying to speak from a number of different perspectives. So on the E side, climate change, carbon target, this is my business. This is my business. Thank goodness I've been given an opportunity as I'm approaching older age to maybe be a little part of a solution to this problem that's killing all of us. Maybe. And I'm getting to work with wonderful men and women that I know are in hundreds of other companies like mine, that if they're properly financed and properly supported, are going to help us. They're going to help us change the climate change issue, right? They're going to green our economy. Over on the social, absolutely got to be there. Before we even signed the lease, we started to deal with the community on the social side. I've committed myself already to well-paying jobs, as close as we can get living wages. You've got to do this. Equity in the workforce. You've got to have the equity. Diversity. I need my workforce in Ulster County to reflect my community and community engagement. What other than paying jobs do I need as a company to give to the community to support a healthier, better community? We've committed to that. And we've committed to things like an employee profit sharing plan once we reach profitability, to ensure that we're not just giving back to investors, and they need that, but that we're also giving back to the community that has supported us. So that's pretty much the end of my presentation. Trusted advisors, diversity of board members, transparency. Transparency is hard, man. It's not always easy, particularly if you're in an IP-based company. How much transparency can you put out there? You got to figure that out. You got to listen to your investors. You got to listen to your customers. But most of all, you got to make sure that your company is playing a positive and active role in the evolution of a civil society and a cleaner society and a greener society. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ron, for that presentation. I want to just kind of jump to the questions that our audience has put through first. One of them here says, "How do you feel about the timeline for green energy self-sufficiency in the US? Do you think it's a really realistic goal?"
Oh, well, it doesn't matter if it's realistic. It's got to be achieved. There is no, you can't slide back, folks. We can't do it. So in that regard, what's happening? I mean, in the United States, we've had the IRA passed, okay? And there's so many good, positive things happening coming from policy and government, right? That IRA gives a 45X tax credit, transferable refundable tax credit, to companies that will invest in manufacturing, from my sector, of energy storage, okay? And so what does that mean? It means the government has put huge amounts of taxpayer money up front to say, you've got to do this sooner. This can't slide. We can't miss targets. And so absolutely going to take place. I think that the investment community has got to understand better that this is the new industrial revolution. We got to clean up the planet. So are they aggressive? Yes. Are they supported properly in the United States? Absolutely. And for any of the investors out there that think that this is an area that they need to know more on, go in and start looking at the IRA. Look at what they've done on the CHIP Act, right? To attract chip manufacturers to the United States. Look at what they've done on lithium supply chains. Governments are leading, and industry has got to support that because we all breathe this air.
Of course, and I kind of want to jump towards one of the questions I had throughout that presentation in terms of setting a budget, in terms of governance. So when you're building out your team to get the right advice within your team or even the board, how much time or money do you spend on that?
I spend a lot of time. Don't spend a lot of money. So advisors, there's different ways. We're not a revenue company yet, so we kind of do it a different way because the revenue's got to go for growth. Current revenue that we get. But there's, like in a Canadian company, there's stock option plans, there's a restricted share units, there's a number of things that would incentivize those individuals to come to the board. So incentivization by means of transfer of or award of some ownership is the appropriate way to go for a small company. Because, you know, I can pay a board member $7,000 a month or whatever, but that buys me a piece of equipment that's important as well. So if you get a board member that just wants to come on because of the money, you may want to rethink whether or not that's the board member you want. But you need to incentivize them.
Of course, yeah. And going back to our audience here, so can you share a bit more about the tool on calculating carbon in product and design?
Well, I'm not even sure what that question means. So
maybe that's made its way into
so I'm not sure what that means, but what I do know, let me talk about what I know. So what I know is in New York, you got Local Law 97. And Local Law 97 is a requirement. It requires all buildings over 25,000 square foot, and there's 60,000 of them in New York, to reduce the carbon footprint by 50% by 2030. Man, that's fast. And by up to 80% in certain circumstances by 2035. So they have to, I'm going to talk about carbon credits a bit. I don't think that's even what he asked or she asked. But, you know, the way that you help to incentivize these building owners to do that, I think, is by providing carbon credit to them. And you can measure the carbon generation of any building. All those things are there, all those tools are there. But where I'd like government to move a little better is saying when you shift from dirty mixed power generation in the daytime in New York, and you go to nighttime power, which is way cheaper, and it's green, it's baseline green, that you should generate a carbon credit for all those companies that do that. That helps them cover their costs of investing in a cleaner environment for everybody that breathes in that lung. And so I don't think I answered the question, but I did answer what I wanted to answer. So
that's great. Well, as long as we managed to probe that bit of information out of you there, but I'm going to have to leave it there for you.
Okay.
Thank you for your time, Ron. And
no, my pleasure.
Brilliant.
Talk to you later.
Okay, so thank you very much for joining that session. So we're going to be back in a little bit, just for a few. We're going to just stop for a few moments and have a little break. So we'll be back soon.